Welcome to The Road Reflected with Nicole Wakeland. Automotive from the lighter side. That means cars, but also cookies, coffee, and pie. Up first, what's Nicole behind the wheel of this week?
Okay, guys, I am driving a gigantic behemoth of a vehicle this week.
It's big. It's quite large.
It's really huge. It is a 2022. I almost said 1922.
It holds most of a bedroom set, and that's not an exaggeration.
It did. So I'm in a 22 Ford Expedition. And we did, in fact, we got a new bedroom set, and I needed to get rid of the old one, and I was just waiting to see until I ended up with a vehicle big enough. And guess what? You can pretty much put entire bedroom set. Guys, the dresser, like lengthwise in that car, it fit, and I still stack stuff behind it.
I mean, you have to disassemble it and not want the bedroom set to be in, you have to not mind the little scratches and bumps.
I could if I had cared about it, I could have slid it in there.
Okay.
But I just would have needed more help than what I had because it was just me and my college-age daughter because
I was distracted by important things.
You were distracted by important
like
things.
Like work or something.
So we managed to get it all stuck to, but even the rails for the king-size bed that we have, all of it in there, and there was still room. I was impressed. So I could give you cargo numbers, but just visualize an entire bedroom set pretty much could fit inside of there.
And then we had to drop our daughter off at the airport today after Easter and flying her out. I mean, you're driving into a city in this big, giant Ford.
Yes.
And yet it wasn't that bad driving in the city, was it?
No, actually, and that's the thing. We're talking about this, comparing it to other SUVs, because big SUVs are a pain in the butt in the city because the streets feel more narrow and you drive through things like tunnels and they feel like there's no way you're going to get out without losing a side view mirror. And this did pretty good. This didn't feel quite so big, even though it is huge and it handles pretty well because the streets in Boston are garbage. They're utter garbage.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's just potholes everywhere. So when you're hitting them at speed, in a tunnel where it's not like you can slow down for a pothole, you're just going to hit that sucker and go with God, hope it's okay. It doesn't toss the car around. You stay pretty well in control. So I liked driving this, and it's super powerful. It has a twin turbo V6 or something I think with the way this one is tricked out with the stealth package is 440 horsepower. Lots of horsepower and 510 pound-feet of torque.
Yeah.
So if you want to carry stuff and tow stuff, you can do that. I did not tow. I just filled it full of stuff.
You did haul though, and it held pretty well. It's still well appointed inside. Plenty of room for all your cup holders.
With the well appointed.
I got to get a term in now and then.
Wow, that's very written review type stuff.
But there's I judge cars by cup holder count.
Yes.
And this vehicle does do well.
Okay, I like that you've got the two that are right in the center console, normal, one right behind the other. But then should you have more beverages, you can put them on the back of the center console. There's two more. It's
right.
Let's relocate our half-drunk coffees so we can get 2 Diet Cokes.
Which is important when you're driving a long distance. You want backup beverages.
You want backup beverages,
right.
And this has the room for the backup beverages.
Exactly.
What I also like about this, so 3 rows. 2 things. Getting to the 3rd row is sometimes hard, even in a big SUV. In smaller ones, it's next to impossible for tall folks. But this one, even in a big one, sometimes it can be tough. But the seat really comes forward in the 2nd row. It tips and then it slides. So pretty much I could just step straight in. I didn't have to do the sideways, stick my butt out, try to get in there without looking super awkward thing. And then there's enough room to sit back there. Your knees aren't completely squinched, which I appreciate. You at 6'3" should really appreciate.
Oh, very
that.
spacious. The whole car, yeah. It's huge. So you expect that, but
huge.
It doesn't let you down on the spacious side. I'm just surprised how easy it is. And it's, as you said, it's got a lot of horsepower, so it's got get up and go if you need to pass somebody. It's a nice vehicle. I mean, you pay for it, but
you do.
Nice.
So depending on how you get this tricked out, it starts at roughly 50 and ends up at about 80,000 plus if you put all the bells and whistles, if you go for the stealth package and everything that you can get. Which is a lot. But again, when you think about
stealth package,
there's a stealth.
Is it what is it like? Avoid radar? How
weirdly, the stealth package makes it has a little more horsepower in the limited trim. I forget the difference, but that's where I get that 440, 510 for the horsepower and the torque. But so it adds that. And it also, it gives you red brake calipers, which are the coolest thing.
That seems less stealthy.
I know. It is. It's let's give you the stealth package that stands out.
Make you stealth.
But it does add stealth because the grill is black. It's got black accents except for
so maybe
they
won't notice my bright red caliper.
It's balanced. We're stealthy here, but we're not stealthy there. And we're net zero. We're net zero stealth. Just same level of stealth as a regular Ford Expedition. Okay, so this week There was a big thing. There was a shindig this week in New York.
A shindig. Is that what the kids call it nowadays?
That's what I call it. I like that word. I feel like it's a descriptive word.
It is a good word.
Shindig.
It's an SAT word, it feels like.
So the shindig was the New York International Auto Show, better known as NIAS, for all those of us who don't want to say New York International Auto Show 100 times. So we had that this week. And it's kind of cool because you get to see, like, they didn't have any big debuts. Sometimes it's like the all new, never before seen, blah, blah, blah comes out. It wasn't so much that. It was sort of like updates. Like they did some cool updates to the Jeep Wrangler. It's like a mid-cycle refresh. They did that. They showed off some of the upcoming stuff, things that we knew about, special trims of things. My favorite thing, because I'm a nerd, was not a very car-centric thing, although it was a car. And I loved it. And people are picking on me because I loved it. But it is the 100th anniversary of Disney, the Walt Disney Company. Did you know this?
I did know this.
Okay, you did know this because
but which 100? Because it feels like they're always celebrating a thing they've already celebrated before.
Well, you know
like
what?
I feel like 100 years of magic wasn't that long ago, and now our Disney's 100.
Yeah, just go with it.
Okay.
Just go with the celebration.
Okay, fine.
When any opportunity for fireworks and confetti, one
I just think the mouse
take.
likes to party. Let's be honest.
the mouse
Any
likes to
excuse
party.
to throw a shindig.
Right? A shindig.
Yeah,
Yes,
see
there
what
you
we
go.
did
Thank you for
there?
that
Little
callback there.
Yeah, I got it.
So, in celebration of the current Disney shindig, at the
Yes.
New York shindig, Hyundai unveiled the, I think I got this right, it's the Hyundai Ioniq 5 Disney 100 Platinum concept.
Okay. Now I have to ask.
That's a lot of words.
So first of all, this is a car that's tricked out like Disney style.
It's Disney style. It's yes.
Now,
it's
you know, if
Disney-fied.
you've ever seen one of the Disney cruise ships or been on it, you know that
It's not like
the
that.
ship's horns sound like, you know, that's a terrible
Yes.
version of that, but you know, but the horn sounds kind of like that. Does this car have a horn?
I don't think
And does it
has
sound like
I
a
don't
Disney
think
theme
You know
song?
what? They did not, on the list of things that I was shown, it did not include a horn. I feel like somehow that would violate 20 different regulatory rules that would not let you
Would
make
it?
your horn sound
Okay.
like that. I mean, a boat and a car are a little bit different.
Okay.
But you do get cool startup. There's like a cool startup graphic on inside the infotainment. It's a little different than
like,
what you would have.
Is it like the three circles spinning or something? Or is it like
It's-
Mickey dance, Steamboat Willie on the
Well,
thing?
it was sort of in this like auto show mode. So some of what I saw wasn't quite what you're going to see in the
right.
production one. Like one of the things, like, so when you look at the lights, the LED lights on the front and the back, they're playing fireworks and little sparkles and stuff. You can't get that for reals because they won't let you. Not Hyundai. Hyundai, I think, would probably let you. Again, I feel like regulations are like, you can't drive down the highway with like fireworks as a billboard on the front and back of your car.
Yeah, you know, some people trick out their cars so that like there's a little bit of
Yeah.
fire on the exhaust. It'd be kind of cool if like Disney fireworks shot out of the back.
Little pixie dust.
I feel like, yeah, oh, there you go. Like pixie dust.
Little
like
sparkly pixie
Tinkerbell
dust,
noises.
which you kind of do get pixie dust because it has this glass roof to it. And when you look up from the inside,
really?
It looks like the little trail that Tinkerbell does.
Oh, cool.
Yes.
Is it animated or is it just
It's
fixed on
static,
there?
but I believe it lights up. It was a little hard to see in the very, very bright
Weren't there
lights
like little
of the
hidden
show.
Mickeys on the doors? Like you were putting pictures up on
There
Twitter.
are. So there are hidden Mickeys in a couple of spots. So the one hidden Mickey, the design in the wheels is actually sort of taken after Mickey Mouse's ears. So it's hidden Mickeys in the wheels, if you look at the wheels. Then there are also, when you look at the door panels running along, there's like brown trim. And if you look, it looks first just kind of like there's a little pattern in there, and you look closely and it's just all these little Mickey, the classic Mickey Mouse head silhouette. It's just all the way down along the door panels. So you have little Mickey Mouse everywhere.
Ooh, cool.
Yeah, and then there's also, it says Disney 100 Platinum Edition, and there's like a badge on the side of the car, and it's embroidered, embossed into the headrest, and it's embossed on the center console.
So would you say it's subtle or is it like bold?
I feel like, honest to goodness, you would not notice the Mickey stuff unless you look. Like, you'd probably see the Disney 100 embossed thing on the center console is probably the most noticeable thing, but you would not notice the Mickey on the doors unless you opened it up and really looked at it. And the wheels could easily just be wheels with a round pattern. Like, you could easily just think this was like any old car wheels, not
So
necessarily.
it's very subtle, which is kind of cool.
I think it's kind of subtle. I think it's
right.
very subtle. I liked it. And it's a limited edition. So you're not going to. So we saw the concept. Like I said, like the lights that had the fireworks are something that you can't quite have that. I don't know exactly what the production version is going to look like. This was officially the concept. But they say they are bringing it to production. And I believe it was 1,000 units that they're going to have, which isn't a lot of units of a car. I want one. I really kind of want one. I don't need a new car.
And do they have a list price for this thing, or is it going to be like
No, 'cause-
stupid expensive because there's
well,
5,000 of them?
sometimes they're not crazy expensive. Like they've done concepts of done other cars will have like a special Star Wars edition or whatever.
Right.
Like Nissan did all those
Like the
really
Rogue
cool,
one.
Right. They did they did the Rogue Nissan Rogue
Right.
Star Wars. I can't remember. It's too long ago to remember what it's called. But they had like you had like little like Darth Vader stuff and stormtroopers, and it was all sort of tricked out. I remember that being like not cost prohibitive. If you were buying a Rogue, you could probably have gotten the Star Wars edition of the Rogue if you wanted it without actually having to remortgage your house. So I'm hoping that the Hyundai Ioniq 5 Disney 100 Platinum concept, when it becomes a actual car, which they say it will. I even talked to some of the folks who were working on the design and talking about it, like how they picked this, how they picked that. Oh, want to know my other fun fact that I learned?
Yes.
That has nothing to do with that, but has to do with the Star Wars car. So they were looking at doing sound effects and things, and it's a very complicated process. They were not sound effects, but he had the sound file for the Stormtroopers blasters.
Oh yeah, right.
Okay, so the sound file is actually called Pew Pew.
Is it really? That's awesome.
It's really called Pew Pew. Like they send the sound file. He's like, wait, did you name that? Like, no, that's what it's called. Pew Pew.
So were all the cars like nerd themes at this year's New York show?
No. That's the Nissan thing was a couple years ago.
Oh, okay.
So Nissan is now done with their Star Wars partnership.
Right.
Hyundai is just starting their Disney partnership.
Do you think there's going to be a bunch of Disney cars, or is
I
this
don't know
like
that there's going to be a bunch of Disney cars, but they say the partnership has just begun. So
I kind of want the Goofy Mobile.
I feel like
So
it's probably
Nissan,
not on their list.
Hyundai.
No,
Whoever's doing
Hyundai's the Disney
Hyundai. I would
one.
like a Goofy car. Just I don't know what
goofy
that would look
car?
like, but I want it.
I feel like nobody wants to say, what is this? This is our goofy car. I feel like
Yeah.
that's a bit of marketing that you
Well,
strongly
what if they did,
try
like,
to avoid.
Power line with Max. Like that could be
What?
pretty hot. Power line, the Goofy movie?
because so many people know who that is.
This is really retro now, but I'm just saying it'd be cool.
It would be cool.
It'd be subtle too. It'll be like bright orange with lightning, but yes, it'd be cool. It'd be very subtle.
But that's like the minivans they have at Disney World that are I think it's Lyft. I can't remember if it's Lyft or Uber. I think it's Lyft. And it's like I think it's Chevy Traverse, but you can get them and they're actually like all red with white polka dots. So they look like Minnie Mouse and they call them minivans, but they spell it MINNIE.
Oh, right. Yes.
The minivan.
So they're going to sell those?
No, you can't buy those. Because I asked. I was like, can you buy
we
these?
get those
No.
now?
I would buy a really ridiculous car like that. Would you be crazed if that was parked in our driveway?
No, I think it'd be pretty cool. I mean,
Yeah?
at this point, let me ask you this though: was like this Disney car like the star of the show?
No,
Like,
I think it was.
What was the big news at the show?
I mean, there were a couple big newses. The Hyundai Ioniq, that I thought it was a big deal. I liked it. I was pretty excited. The new Jeep stuff was a big deal. They announced updates to the Wrangler.
See, now I would like to hear more about the Wrangler
I
situation.
know. I'm not telling you because then you'll want another one.
Oh, come on.
You can get it like one of the things you can now get a worn winch as a part. Like you used to have to do it like aftermarket. As
So you get a winch standard now in like a 4x8.
You can get a winch in the 4xe.
Nice.
There's some new charging things. There's some new. The infotainment has been updated, so the screen is it looked a little dated in the old one. It was sort of old school. Now you have this nice, beautiful screen, and so there were some cool updates to the Wrangler, and I love that when they brought him out on stage, they had ducks in them. Like they were the ones that there's like ducks on the dashboard as they bring them out. So
I'm just glad that Jeep embraces the culture. Like they're just like, yes, this is who we are. This is our brand. Whatever you Jeepers out there come up with next, we're just going to hug you for it.
Your Duck Jeep thing. They've embraced that at Jeep. So that's always kind of fun. So that was a big deal. They had the EV9, the Kia EV9, which I saw in Korea, but they did its official debut here and you could see it for real. That's a 3-row electric SUV that's going to start at around, I think they say around 50. They haven't given official precise pricing yet, but it's a big deal, Russ, because there's not a lot of those out there. Like if you're rich and you want to buy an expensive SUV that's like, sure, but if you're like average Joe, you can't. So now you'll be able to get one.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah, and it looks really cool. They had this really cool blue color that they did not have when we were in Korea. The blue is way cooler than whatever color they were showing us over there.
Nice. And what do you think, what kind of family do you think would really like that vehicle?
Because it's 3 rows, it's going to be a big family, or somebody who thinks they're always going to have like at least 2 kids, but you're going to have like their besties along for the ride all the time, or you want to be able to, even if you just want to go with like 2 families, like each have a kid or 2, and you want to not have to take 2 cars to go to the beach or go to the animal farm or wherever it is that you're going, you can all pack into it. And who wants to be able to do the electric thing? A lot of people want to look at getting an electric car so that they save money on gas and that they're not, polluting. The zero emissions thing holds a lot of appeal. That's a big, big deal. So I think anybody who's been holding out, waiting for an EV for their family, this will be the chance to get it and get an affordable one.
Sweet.
That sounds awesome.
I think it's going to be really cool. I'm looking forward to it. I won't drive it for a while yet. It's not coming out. It's later this year. So we've got a little ways to go before I'll actually drive it. But I've spent a lot of time sitting in it and seeing all the stuff that they did to try to make it cool. But you know what we're not getting here in this? In the ones that are not in the US ones, the second row spins. The seats.
Well, like captain's chairs?
But they're not just captain's, like you want to spin and talk to each other. You want to spin and talk to the third row.
Oh, wow.
But not here.
So it's like conversational living room.
It is
style
like
chairs.
it is the 70s conversation pit of SUVs.
Is there a safety issue with that? Is that why?
I actually don't know the true issue. It could be a safety thing. I don't know. Honestly, no. I don't. If they said there was an actual reason, I don't know.
Got it.
So there could be a safety issue. It could just be we've decided the U.S. market doesn't want this, or we're just mean and we're not giving the U.S. market this really cool feature. I'm thinking the later, probably not. But
all right. So for those of us who have never been to this New York Auto Show,
yes,
and you've been several times now.
Yes.
Like, what's the most surprising thing? Like, if I were to go, or some just non-journalist were to go to this show, what would be the thing you don't know happens there that happens there?
What's the thing you don't know happens there? You know, I wonder if people realize just how much test driving of stuff you can drive some stuff.
So it's not just like walking around like little I think we all think there's like these little rotating platforms with cars.
No,
and
there is to a point.
Booth people standing there, and that's it.
There are rotating platforms with cars.
Yeah.
That is definitely part of the shtick. And you can see some concept cars you wouldn't be able to see anywhere else. And you can see like the latest stuff that's in, that you can buy right now if you show up at a dealership. But they also normally have drive stuff outside of the New York Auto Show. Jeep takes over with this huge camp Jeep thing where they have someone take you in they take you up this like outside thing that's designed to show you all the capability that they can do. Where you're
like a little manufactured off-road trail.
A little manufactured off-road trail that they will drive you along so you can see. And it's super disconcerting in the best way.
Yeah.
As you go up and it's really steep and then you go down the other side and you almost can just sort of hang in your seatbelt at a certain point. It's like, wee.
Are there any closed circuits so you can go speeding around?
There's nothing where they're going to let consumers go speeding around. Nice try. They do let you, though. They do have an EV, some EV driving experience that they
What's
let
that
you do
like?
there.
I mean, I know what a Jeep driving experience. What's an EV driving experience?
It's just to like give you some
like
time.
pull over
with an
here and
electric
see how long it
vehicle.
takes to charge my car.
It's inside because you don't have to worry about emissions.
Oh, there's no exhaust.
There's no exhaust.
So you get to drive inside, which is kind of unique.
So you're inside. Okay. But it gives you an idea of like if you've never been in one, you've never been in an EV, you have no idea just how quiet it is and how weirdly quiet it is the first time you drive one. So you have this EV experience where you can, and they have a couple of different ones so you can try them and you get an idea of what it means. And like, it's still just a car inside. Probably a little bit more future tech looking than other cars because they all feel like they have to look like they're of the future. Like they're all trying to be their own Jetsons version of whatever a car will be. But it does let you sort of see it, get your hands on it, hear that there is nothing to hear, which is really kind of cool. Other than if you're going really slow, because they have to make a certain noise as a safety thing because they're afraid pedestrians won't know a car is coming. Like, if you're about to cross, you're like, I hear a car. You won't hear necessarily an EV. So they're trying to make sure that EVs are just as safe as gas vehicles. So they do have to make a sound different. One sound going forward at slow speeds, a different sound when they go in reverse.
So it disturbs me that there's some of the EVs, I can't remember which one I was in that did this. I rented an EV once. And it wasn't a Tesla, but it was one where there was no turning it on and turning it off. Just when you sat in it.
Oh yeah, that's
it knew it was time to go.
It knows,
and then you could just get out.
Yeah,
and
it's weird, huh?
That freaked me out.
It is kind of weird.
Like I didn't know, and there's no sound change. There's no nothing except the panel sort of turns on. But it just felt like it was always on because it kind of turns on when you get near the car because it's got that NFT proximity thing going on.
Yeah.
So it's like. It's weird. And then you want to turn it off to make sure it's like secure. And there's nothing to do. You just get out of the car. I'm forever
just, even though I drive EVs, my gosh, it feels like almost every other week I get one as my daily driver for a week. And the number of times I like get out of one, I think, wait a minute, I did, right? Okay, the lights are all off inside. It's definitely off because you can't hear that double check that the engine is off.
Yeah, I mean, on one hand, it's cool, but on the other hand, it's such a paradigm shift.
It's weird.
I wonder sometimes, is that safe?
It's turning off.
Kind of
it's not like you're accidentally leaving it on. You're accidentally leaving it off and didn't know that you turned it off. So I don't know that it's a bad thing. It's turning itself off.
Maybe a cool engine note, like vroom, even though it's not really an engine.
There's no engine.
No, I know, but just to make you feel like you did something, you turned it on.
You just want an engine.
Because they all play these cute little, musical things. Some of them, but this one I was talking about doesn't even do anything. It's just like, yep, you're ready to go.
So you need to have a musical note, like when a computer turns off and it goes do 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 do.
Maybe that Disney boat noise. Something to do. Something.
You need some kind of sound. You require sound effects. Okay, fine. We can give you sound effects, I guess. Hey, wait, did we just drive by a bakery? Okay, something else at the New York Auto Show. Do you know what you get when you're there as a journalist?
I'm gonna guess they give you food at some
They
point.
give you food. Okay, so we will never starve as automotive journalists because they're always giving us food and they're always giving us coffee. Specifically at the auto show, there's tons of coffee because generally you're up relatively early to do the stuff you need to do at the show. Like I had to be there at 7:30 in the morning this time because the World Car Awards were announced. And as a juror for that, I wanted to be present to see what the awards were. So up very early, but then you're also up very late because there's all sorts of events afterwards. There's like cocktail hours and special debuts, things that might not be shown at the show they want to have an offsite for. So you get coffee. Coffee is the most important thing at the coffee and also pastry. But there's 2 competing coffee booths for me at this year's auto show.
Ooh. Now, how many coffee booths would you say there are in the
There were at least 2 places handing out coffee because
Okay.
I got coffee at both these places.
All right. And they both were equally good.
Well, no. Well, there's pros and cons to each of the coffees.
All right.
Okay. So if you went to the Nissan booth, you had coffee, and imagine you kind of walked into Starbucks, except instead of having a little, what is
So
it?
like full on baristas, little bar.
Yeah.
Everything
So
there?
is it like, but instead of like, what is it? Is it a mermaid on the Starbucks cup?
Yes.
It had a little GTR. It's a GTR, which immediately made it kind of cool, right? Because it's a
Okay.
Nissan
I can see that.
GTR, right?
Yeah.
But then you could get your coffee. You wanted a latte? Did you want a cappuccino?
Did they put your face in the foam?
They did not. That was
Okay.
of many. No, there was nothing quite that fancy.
Okay.
But you could get whatever coffee you wanted. And you can just get as much of it as
That's
you
pretty
want.
awesome. They have all the flavors too, so you could do like a.
Yeah, I had sugar-free vanilla in my coffee. It was my normal coffee order that I was able to get. And as I was walking with my little paper GTR cup of Nissan coffee, which was amazing. Nissan always has coffee at the booths. Someone said, "Well, have you been over to see the Genesis coffee?" And I was like, wait, Genesis has coffee? And like, yes, Genesis has coffee. So as I make the trek from Nissan, buzzing back and forth between the booths to see what to see, I went over to Genesis. Genesis had some like set kind of coffee things. They had a fancy flavor. I got something with rose petals in it, which was really cool, except the rose petals, they're rose petals, and I don't want to eat rose petals, like little teeny tiny rose petals.
Yeah, the edible flower thing.
It kind of felt like I was eating paper. I was like, ugh.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, I didn't like it, but
Yeah.
they didn't put theirs in a cool Nissan GTR paper cup.
Oh.
Instead, they put in a little tumbler that said Genesis.
Ooh, you get a little takeaway.
You get a
little
little takeaway.
swag.
You get a little swag.
Oh, that's pretty
so,
sweet.
but then you're having to carry the swag around.
But now you can't throw it away, and it's full of
So
dirty coffee.
I'm literally holding this cup
that's
under
flawed,
my
their
arm.
plan.
No, but you got, I mean, so if you can stand holding it or get one of your friends to put it in their bag or something, then you have this cool coffee. So there was this
So
cool
whose coffee was better?
I'm going to give it to Nissan because I didn't like the roses that were like in the Genesis one.
See, stay
And
with the
Nissan let me
classics,
make my
people.
exact favorite how I like a coffee.
See?
I mean, it truly was. Like I said, what do you guys have? And they're like, what do you want? We can pretty much make you anything, which I thought was sort of neat.
That is pretty awesome.
I appreciate that. So in addition to that, sometimes places have snacks. Sometimes they'll have like a little snack break because again, like I said, we're all starving to death. Like we haven't had enough food, right? I think there was an official snack break, but I like cookies. Like cookies are kind of my thing.
That is sort of a thing.
Yeah. And I went to the Jeep booth and Jeep had a box of cookies that their head, Jim Morrison, was guarding like a dragon guarding his little layer of gold because the man has a sweet tooth. But it's someplace called Chip City.
Ooh.
Which is like a regional.
Now, is that a local New York thing?
It's a local, I want to say New York, New Jersey. And
Okay.
somehow there was a box of 6 of these cookies. Now you got to think, don't think Oreo.
Are they crumble size? Like
They're
big?
crumble size. So they're really, really big and they're really, really thick. And there's a bunch of different kinds, but they had chocolate chip cookies.
A classic.
These chocolate chip cookies were good.
Ooh, what makes them unique?
They were squishy. I like cookies that are really fat and squishy in the middle. So they're very squishy in the middle. It's the kind of cookie though you want to have like you have one giant cookie and that's cookies for 4 people. You kind of want to break it in half and then break
it's
it in half
shareable.
again.
It's a shareable.
It's definitely a shareable cookie.
But they don't give you a knife or napkins to make it shareable. These are the challenges that we cookie lovers face.
You have to be a responsible grown-up and choose to not eat the cookie. That was really hard. The only thing that made it easy was that I wasn't holding the whole box and I just took a piece out and I broke off a chunk of cookie and had a chunk of chocolate chip cookie, which we all just kind of descended on Jeep and broke off chunks of chocolate chip cookie from the Chip City box. So it was really good. But now I want to go there. Like I want to go and I want to
find this Chips cookie
because you can have them shipped to you. But I didn't look to see how much it was because sometimes when you have things like cookies shipped, you're like, okay, I'm paying too much for cookies, but they're really, really
now,
good.
Do they have a lot of flavors or are they all chocolate
they
chip?
Had other
jam,
flavors.
like
I kind of think the chocolate chip was their jam, but they had other flavors. I feel like if you're going to try cookies for the first time someplace, you got to go with the known quantity, like chocolate chip cookies. You don't want to go with some weird. What if it's weird and you don't like it?
No, it's like I'm that way with
flavor.
ice cream. Like when I try a new ice cream place, you start with vanilla.
Right.
Because if an ice cream place can't get vanilla right, then there's no point in moving on.
Right. And you don't know. Maybe they do get all their flavors right, but you just got a really weird flavor that you don't like. You don't want to judge them based on the weird flavor.
Right. If it's a bad, weird mix or just, but vanilla is like, you got to get vanilla right. And I feel like chocolate chip cookies, if you're a cookie shop and you can't make a good chocolate chip cookie.
Yes.
Because, they're easy to screw up. They sound easy, but they're really not. A good chocolate chip cookie.
I messed them up really good once. I forgot to put baking powder in them once.
Yeah, I remember
soda.
that.
It became a chocolate chip blob.
This sent you on your quest to become a cookie master.
It did, and that's why I'm really good at baking cookies now.
That's right, because one good mess up and you decide.
I will master this whole cookie.
Right, it either kicks you out or you become a master.
So you can master it, or you can get this Chip City cookies. It was amazing. It was really, really good. So I had my fancy Nissan GTR and Genesis coffee with rose petals and a giant chocolate chip cookie because I am a fancy, fancy person. So weird coffees in a paper cup and a cookie. And I was happy as a lark.
We fancy. Thanks for listening to The Road Reflected. To follow more of Nicole Wakeland's adventures, head on over to NicoleWakeland.com. There you'll find links to her social media from TikTok to Twitter, as well as her work across a wide range of media outlets. Until next time, keep it shiny side up.